Morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right? Good. Those of you who are visiting with us, I am not the usual preacher, as was mentioned earlier. Our preacher is out of town at the moment, and so I'm just filling in this morning. And tonight we'll have Brother Tom Schmidt, who will be preaching for us. If you can come back and hear a lesson from him, that'll be great to support him, but most importantly to support the gospel. Just a couple more announcements. Juliana is leaving this afternoon, and as was mentioned, there will be a lot of traveling because in August we'll actually have several people. Juliana will be coming back, but then she'll be leaving again to go to college. So will Alex. So will Alec. Landon's leaving us again soon, and there'll be so many kids traveling, going away. We're going to lose a little chunk of our young men and women. So keep them in your prayers as they start their new lives in the worlds they're going to. First time, a lot of them will be away from home, sort of like them in your prayers as they tackle life, as they forge new paths and meet new people, and make sure that they keep strong in the strength of the Lord, as that's most important. We are living in the material world, and I am a material girl. Madonna said that. Madonna was wrong about a lot of things, but she's certainly right about this. This is a material world. Now, we can look at that as a bad thing, and we can look at it as a good thing. We're living in the material world in the sense, a good thing, because guess what? This is the material world. This is the material. This is stuff made out of something. We are made out of neurons and protons and atoms and all these sorts of things. This is the material world. This isn't the spiritual world. This is the material world. There's other things inside of the material world that can be good and can be bad. And so I'd like to kind of focus on that this is the material world. Why do we work? Why do we go to work and have jobs? Why do we go to a place of business? Why do we create a business? What is it? Why is it that we have to do this? Why do we have to go out and break our back? And a lot of the guys were commiserating last night at our men's thing about going out into the extreme cold and extreme heat, that kind of thing. Why is it we do this? Why do we have to do this? Well, first off, in Genesis chapter 3, verses 17 through 19, of course, this story is Adam had just eaten of the apple. Adam and Eve had just eaten of the apple, and God was punishing them. And he said to Adam, God said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree about which I have commanded you, saying, you shall not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you will eat of it all the days of your life. Both thorns and thistles it shall grow for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your face you will eat bread till you return to the ground, because from it you are taken. For you are dust, dust you shall return. So we work like this because of Adam's sin. We have to work the ground. We have to work by the sweat of our brow. Remember, Adam was living in paradise. Adam and Eve didn't have to do anything, basically. We don't know exactly how it was, but it just seemed like if they wanted something, they probably just reached out and took it, didn't have to sweat. Didn't seem like they had to till the ground. Didn't seem like they had to do any gardening, watering of the plants. At least if they did have to do anything like that, it wasn't back-breaking, sweaty labor. Now, because of that, we have to. Now, of course, does that mean that we all go out and break our back? No, some of us sit in nice, comfortable, air-conditioned offices. And that's fine, too. But we still have to work for the things that we want. Who knows? Adam could have said, you know what, I would like an apple off that tree. It just fell into his hand. We don't know how it was. But now, if we want an apple, we have to actually go out and get it. Now, whether that means the store, pulling it off the tree ourselves, whatever, or we have to go work and earn the money to go and buy the apple. Either way, this is why we work. We work because it is It is part of our punishment as man because of the sin of Adam. We will continue to do this. Also, Proverbs 10, verses 4 through 5. Poor is he who works with a negligent hand, but the hand of the diligent makes rich. He who gathers in summer is a son who acts wisely, but he who sleeps in harvest is a son who acts shamefully. God doesn't want us to be layabouts either. He doesn't want us to be lazy. He doesn't want us to not put our best effort into this. So this is why we work. This is why we do this. We have to go out there and we have to work. We're lazy. He's not happy with that. He's displeased with that. Poor is he who works with a negligent hand. Hand of the diligent makes rich. So, we go out to work. We're in this material world. What's out there? What's out there for us? Stuff. This is the materials. These are the things that can bring us trouble. These nice, fast cars, big fancy houses, giant mansions. I don't even know where that is, but man, that's huge. That's an 80-inch TV. At least I put in Google search, I put 80-inch TV, and that's a picture that came up. That's 80 inches. That'd be like my entire wall on my living room. And of course, a nice fancy phones that should be turned off or silenced. Now, I'm not a car guy. I'm not someone who looks at it's a Lamborghini. I'm not a Lamborghini guy, but some people are car guys. Dale has a nice fancy car and all that. We have people who have nice houses. The fact that I live in a nice tiny little house is fine, but one of the things I'm tempted by is a lot of room. I don't have a lot of room. If I had an 80-inch TV, as I said, that would take up my entire wall, but I would probably be happy with that. And I'm not an iPhone person. I believe that's the iPhone 10. I believe some people have those, and that's fine. I've got a nice fancy cell phone, but this kind of sits in for like technology. I love technology. If it was up to me, I would have our whole house wired with all the talking thing. Turn the lights on, lower the lights, turn this, order me food. That's what I would do. I'm a technology person. If I could afford it, if I could go out and do that, I would do that because that's my temptation. These are the things that I want. And of course, like I said, I'm not a big car guy. I'm not a big like Lamborghini guy. But I always tease Bill because I do like Hondas. Bill has a late model fancy Honda Accord. I love it. I keep teasing him. I'm like, you're going to give that to me, right? I'm taking it, right? Because that's what I want. But we're in this world, we're tempted with stuff. It's out there. These are the materials that can bring us trouble. We want this stuff. So the question then becomes, is it good or bad? So first off, Nehemiah 9:6. You alone are the Lord. You have made the heaven of heavens with all their host, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them. You gave life to all them, and the heavenly host bows down before you. God made everything. Now, God didn't make the cars, but he certainly made the materials that went into making the cars and the houses and the cell phones. He made man, who then made these things. He made everything. Colossians 1:6, for by him all things were created, both in the heavens and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All of these things have been created through him and for him. So is the stuff good or is it bad? Well, the thing is, the stuff is just stuff that God has created. So how much you got? How much you got? Are you rich? Proverbs 10:22. It is the blessing of the Lord that makes rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. So is it good to be rich? God says it is the blessing of the Lord that makes rich. Are you poor? Is that good or bad? Well, what's interesting is in Proverbs 13:18, he says, poverty and shame will come to him who neglects discipline, but he who regards reproof will be honored. It almost seems like poverty is connected with shame. Does that mean it's being poor is bad? Well, of course, you have to look at the tail end of here. He says, but he who regards reproof will be honored. Him who neglects discipline. And this, of course, he's talking about the discipline of the Lord. That's what's going to be important. You can be rich, but have nothing to do with God. You can be poor, have everything to do with God. But God here is talking about just being shameful, having nothing, being a lazy layabout. That was talked about earlier. He doesn't want that. And that will bring you poverty, and that should bring you shame, not because you're poor, but because you have disregarded and neglected the discipline. So, is rich better? Well, Proverbs 11:28. He who trusts in his riches will fall, but the righteous will flourish like a green leaf. In other words, no. Don't trust in your riches. If you have a lot of money, if you have a lot of stuff in this material world, doesn't matter. Don't trust in it. Because if you put your trust there, you will fall. The righteous will flourish. Righteous will flourish. That's what's going to be important. That's what we need to focus on. So, should we let it go? Matthew 6:16. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. So should we even own anything on this planet? What is it that we want? What is it that we need? What is it that we are going for? What is our focus in life? Is it the big mansion? Is it the fancy cars? Is it the technology, the TVs, the what have you? Where is the focus? Don't worry about those sorts of things. Store up your treasures in heaven, not here on earth. It seems that if you've got it, great. You don't, great. Because where is your focus? Don't trust these things. Don't lay up and trust these things. Matthew 19:21, Jesus said to him, and of course this is the story of the young man who comes up and says, what should I do? And he says, Jesus said to him, if you wish to be complete, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and come follow me. He told this to this guy who had a lot, and he said, give it all up and follow me. Give it all up and follow me. Sell your possessions and give it to the poor. Not just sell it, but give the money to the poor, and you will have treasures in heaven, and come follow me. Now we know that this young man, he did not do that because he was rich. And he was exceedingly sorrowful. He walked away exceedingly sorrowful. And the reason why Jesus said this was because he knew it was going to be hard. He knew it was going to be difficult because he knew where his focus was going to be. This isn't so much about this is what you have to do. But for this moment, for this person, he knew it was going to be hard for him to give up everything. So, should we let it all go and go off and become monks? Live in some monastery somewhere? Become nuns? Live in some nunnery somewhere? Take vows of poverty? Have absolutely nothing? Give it all up? Secrete ourselves away from the world? Well, going back to our memory, or our scripture reading. He who loves money will not be satisfied with money, nor he who loves abundance with its income. This too, vanity. When good things increase, those who consume them increase. That's great. So what is the advantage to their owners except to look on? You know, that 80-inch TV is great to look on. But what's the advantage of that? Just to look on. That's it. Just to look on it. A cell phone. Fantastic. This was top of the line a couple years ago. Now it's practically out of date, but it's top of the line a couple years ago. Great to look on. Verse 12, the sleep of the working man is pleasant, whether he eats little or much, but the full stomach of the rich man does not allow him to sleep. And that can be a tough thing to say. That can be a tough thing to hear. That can be a tough thing to put inside. Because we know that there are poor people out there who hard But whether he eats little or much, we know that there are a lot of people out there who are starving, who don't have much to eat. They go to bed hungry. And it can be difficult to sleep when you're hungry, if you haven't eaten all day. It can be very difficult. So what is this? But the full stomach of the rich man does not allow him to sleep. They would look at that and be like, that would be just so much better if I could have a full stomach. This isn't really about how much food you have. This isn't about that. It's about where your focus is. Thing is you can be poor and still want to get more stuff. But if you're just living your life, what you have for God, that's where you'll be able to sleep at night. But if you are rich or if you're poor, but it always seems like the rich man is always going out wanting more stuff. Now, you can say, well, you're a millionaire. What else are you going to do with $1 million? You can't exactly just sit on $1 million. You kind of have to spend it, right? I mean, so you have to get more and more and more. That's the problem. Is there anything wrong with being a millionaire? I hope not, because I want to be one day. No, but no, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having those things, but it's always about the focus. If you can sleep at night without wanting the next thing, without wanting the next big thing, without going out and having to get more, if you can go to bed at night, pray to God and thank Him for what you have, that's what's important. You know, there are a lot of things that actually prey. A lot of companies that will prey on the poor people, that will prey on people who don't have money. There are companies out there who, there's a lot of what they call the pyramid schemes and so on that, you can stay at home and you can make thousands of dollars a week by just doing this. The reality is that works for almost no one. It works for almost no one. So don't fall into those sorts of things. Now, if you want to work, if you want to do something, if you believe in a product, you like it, and you want to sell it, that's fine. But don't fall into the dreams of making thousands of dollars a week. Because should not be the focus of your life. But that's what these companies prey upon. You too can be rich. You too can be rich by doing this. By just doing this one thing. And oh, by the way, you don't really even have to work that much. We know that that's not how it works. Money troubles. This is where we have money troubles. 1 Timothy 6, 9 through 10. But those who want to get rich fall into temptation and snare, and many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all sorts of evil. And some, by longing for it, have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Is it money? No. Is it having money? No. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and snare. Verse 10, for the love of money. That is the root of all kinds of evil. It's the love of money. And again, some of the things we were talking about yesterday, not many of the corruption in government, whether it's here in America or around the world, follow the money. Where's the money going? How's it getting there? How much money? Who's making the money? Who wants to make the money? Where is this money going? It's the root of a lot of evil. How much money do you want? How much money do you got? Do you want more? I can get you more. Oh, by the way, just do this thing for me, which will make me, really, really rich, and I'll cut you in. These type of things. It's the love of money. If you don't love money, if it's just something that's in your pocket, something that gets you the things that you need, that's great. But if it's your drive, it's your focus, that's where you fall in temptation, be a snare for you. And you'll bring upon many griefs. Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and wealth. you're always servicing your wealth, that means you're always working, you're always going out, you're always doing something that has nothing to do with God, guess what? You cannot serve God while you're doing that. If you're always skipping church because of work, or if you're always skipping, spending time with your brethren because of work. Now, we all have obligations, and there's an understanding with that. But there comes a time where you need to be able to make the choice. Why are you doing it? Is it because you want to? Is it because you want to? Who are you serving? Because you cannot serve both. You cannot serve God and wealth. Cannot. So the answer to this, the answer to the temptations that we have with the stuff, is to be content. Philippians 4, chapter 4, verses 10 through 12. But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at last you have revived your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned before, but you lacked opportunity. Not that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I'm in. Now, we know Paul was in a lot of circumstances. He was beaten, left for dead, shipwrecked, all these sorts of things. He was content. Whatever circumstance he was in, whatever was going on, he was content. We know he didn't make a lot of money, but we also know that he worked for what he got. He wasn't worried about, he says earlier, I'm glad that you have revived your concern for me, but I'm not that worried about it. Not because I want it, not because I need it, because I'm happy. Verse 12, I know how to get along with humble means, and I also know how to live in prosperity. We know he was on the council. He was a Pharisee. He had a little bit of power. He was taught by Gamaliel, I believe that's how you say it, who was a very renowned teacher. He had something in his life, but he's fine. He will get along with humble means. When he went out and started preaching for the Lord, he made tents, and maybe he had dinner that day. And hopefully he wasn't beaten half to death. But he was fine. He was fine with it. He was content with it. Continue on. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of being filled and going hungry, both of having abundance, suffering need. And yet still, he was happy. He was content. Because God gives us what we need. Matthew 6:25 through verse 24. For this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life as to what you will eat or drink, body as to what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds in the air. They do not sow, nor reap, nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you worth much more than they? 27, and who of you, by being worried, can add a single hour to his life? And why are you worried about clothing? Observe how the lilies in the field grow. Yes, he's having a go at the lilies now. They do not toil, nor do they spin. Yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all his glory clothed himself like one of those. But if God so clothes the grass, field, which is alive today, and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, will he not much more clothe you? You of little faith. Do not worry then, saying, what will we eat? What will we drink? Or what will we wear for clothing? For the Gentiles eagerly seek all these things, for your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be added to you. So do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Do not worry. God will give us what we need. Be content. Do not worry. Be content and do not worry. Another song from the 80s, worry. Don't worry, be happy. God will take care of us. God will give us the things that we need. Because in the end, what you do matters. 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether then you eat or drink or whatever you do all in the name of the Lord, to the glory of God. What's your motive? Profit? Well, Matthew 16:26. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? What will it prosper? What is your profit motive? Is it money profit or is it spiritual profit? What you do matters. Where your focus is matters. If you have a lot of money, great. If you don't have a lot of money, great. That doesn't matter to God, because in the end, you will go to the dust in the ground. That 80-inch TV will be taken by somebody who didn't even pay for it. Lucky. See, these are the reason why I have say these things, because a lot of this stuff I have trouble with. I think we all have trouble with it. Maybe it's not the 80-inch TV for you, but it's something else. We all want things in this world. We all want to lay up treasures. We want the big house, or we want the whatever. That's not the focus. What we do matters. If you have money, great. If you don't, great. Where's your focus? Whatever you do, if you're working, work your job. But do it in the glory of the Lord. Do it for the glory of the Lord. Because that profit on this world means nothing. Forfeit your soul. So if you have trouble with these things, if you have trouble with stuff, wanting stuff, and that's your focus, if you're doing nothing but working for stuff, would like to turn back to the Lord, or would like to turn to the Lord and work for the Lord now. If you'd like to give up the desires, the wants of this world, of this material world, and focus on the spiritual world. We just recently had a baptism. We're so happy for that. Hopefully, we will continue to have more. Not because we need numbers, not because we want to get our membership up or anything like that. Because that means their soul has been saved. They will be in heaven. Their sins will be forgiven. That's what we want. More souls saved for God. We want more sins to be washed away for God. But if there's anything that we can do for any of you, whether it's prayers, whether it's baptism, whatever it may be, if there's anything we can do, there's no better time than right now. Please come forward now as we stand and sing.